Good evening, everyone. My name is Tori Ergang, and I'm so pleased to welcome you on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation to the 2020 John D. Hamilton Community Service Celebration. As you join us tonight from the comfort of your home, we ask you to pause for just a moment of silent prayer for those who've been lost to this virus. We hope your family remains safe and healthy, and that tonight can bring just a bit of joy and normalcy. Our fall celebrations of community service are a wonderful time of fellowship, and we look forward to returning to that next year. If this year has taught us anything, it is the importance of remaining flexible and embracing new ways of doing things. Tonight's celebration is no different. While we wish it was a more personal gathering, the virtual format does have some advantages. It has encouraged us to capture well wishes from those who would be completely unable to join us in person. We'd like to start with a message for Cristie from her longtime publisher and good friend and friend of the Community Foundation, Don Meyer. Following his comments, I'll turn the program over to Bridget Johnson, the chair of the Hamilton Awards Selection Committee.
I met Cristie in 1976 when I was transferred from St. Louis to Jamestown as executive editor of the Post-Journal. Chris was a reporter at the time, but her talent and potential were obvious. There was growing pressure at the time in our newspaper industry to advance women's equality, but that's not why Chris moved up through the management ranks over the years. You see, Chris set a new standard. If you're good enough, you can do anything. She opened the first news bureau in Mayville, became city editor, then managing editor, and then executive editor when I assumed the role as publisher. I recall a publisher friend of mine who was visiting our offices who commented, "Oh, I see you have a woman editor." I said, "No, I have a darn good editor who just happens to be a woman." Chris and I got some good laughs out of that one. Chris could have taken positions at larger papers, but chose to remain here to continue serving the people in this area that she deeply loves. She used her position well at the paper to promote and celebrate what is best about the region, while volunteering her own time with scouts and other groups and serving on numerous boards. John Hamilton was a dear friend of mine, and when I learned that Cristie was to be honored with this very special award, I thought John would be so proud if he were with us today. So I join others in thanking you, Cristie, for your service to this community. By the way, I'm very proud of you as well.
This award was first presented to John D. Hamilton in 1993 to express the community's appreciation for his efforts and leadership to enhance the Chautauqua region. Each year since, the award has recognized an individual who demonstrates dedication, leadership, and support in furthering community spirit and enriching the quality of life in our area. Like John Hamilton, Cristie Herbst has led with conviction and confidence in her professional and volunteer capacities. Cristie's steady, measured approach to helping area organizations support their mission stems from wisdom gained through intention, chance, and serendipity. It goes without saying that Cristie's quiet, assertive style benefited our region in many ways. Her interest in understanding the forces that created our communities, as well as the effect of social changes, have given her a unique perspective on how we honor the past, address the present, and influence the future. She has inspired many on her journey of serving others, and we are honored to be able to share a few of those stories tonight. First from a video, and then from her dear friend, Susan Wilcox.
I found out when I opened my mail, and I had the invitation in the mail for the event, And my reaction was, I couldn't think of a better candidate.
Something that is a great honor, and she's very worthy of receiving it.
When I saw Cristie was the honoree, I was just very, very happy.
It is an unbelievable list of people who have led this community and really made a difference. And certainly adding the name of Cristie Herbst to the end of that list for 2020 is perfect.
I thought that was an excellent, excellent choice, and I'm just very happy and pleased that she's receiving it.
I was thrilled that she was selected.
She really downplays her own contributions as a leader, but she's a great leader. The hospital board, the foundation board, 3 other boards associated with the hospital were going through the decision to become part of a larger entity. And Cristie led that from the foundation perspective. And I thought she did a great job. She was always able to cut right through everything and get to what are the real issues. Not a lot of words, but always good about making sure to thank others for their contributions.
I was a member of the Greater Jamestown AM Rotary, and we initiated a Coats for Christmas, and she was very supportive of that and gave us good publicity, and she made the upstairs back of the Post-Journal building available for us to store coats and to do the donations. She's demonstrated her passions for citizenship and volunteerism, the support of the Girl Scouts and the Boys and Girls Club and Hospice and the WCA, now UPMC, and many other organizations. And I think she's a fantastic recipient of the John Hamilton Award, and I think she's very worthy of it.
She's done so much for the community, yet she would never brag about what she's done. She's very quiet. She doesn't like to be in the limelight, but she was very, very instrumental and had a major impact on many things.
You are very seldom in a meeting with her where she does not have a map for how the meeting should go. Rather than taking credit for the idea herself, she would defer credit to somebody else and elevate them. And I think that was a big part of Cristie's ability to lead people in a direction that she wanted to go.
I like folks to know that she is a true leader as our president, and she always makes sure she includes us in her decisions, what we want to do to make sure we preserve this information.
Her working career, gave her the opportunity to look at our community from a global perspective. It was always a great deal of fun for me. Chris and I got to be good friends along the way, and we had many a cup of coffee and discussion about things going on in our community.
It's important to preserve local history because you learn from history, you learn from the past. And working with the collections, we kind of discover. And so she's usually here and we're usually discovering it together. I know that she loves to research ordinary people and to find out what extraordinary things that they've done.
I'm certainly hopeful that the people that she's been around certainly have learned from her technique. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to make your point.
Hospice, she was a major player in helping us get hospice started back in the late 80s and 90s. And
she has ascended to roles of leadership in any organization that she's been a part of, including her career. It was very gratifying and satisfying to me to see somebody who's taken more of a quiet path to leadership than some of the other folks who have received this award.
She never got caught up in emotions. She never got caught up in power struggles. She made sure everyone had a voice.
So much of the planning of the creation of the Community Foundation happened in Ken and Lois Strickler's living room. Cristie was there.
I've known Cristie for 55 years. She is still in the area, she's still doing things, and she's been many things to me. She's been a staff member, a Girl Scout volunteer, she's been an advisor, certainly a friend, a sister in Girl Scouting. She's just a very nice person to know, and I'm very, very proud of her and very glad to call her my friend.
Good evening. My name is Susan Wilcox, and I am so happy to be joining you in this virtual celebration, recognizing my friend, Cristie Herbst, for her many accomplishments and contributions to her community. I was surprised when Chris asked me to introduce her tonight. I have nothing to add to all the things that someone else had said, but I am happy to introduce you to the Cristie I have known since 1954. My family moved into what is now the Old Corner Deli in Hartfield when I was 6. Cristie lived just down the street. I remember her as the skinny little girl with Band-Aids on her knees, braids down her back, and crooked bangs. We became fast friends. In those days, Hartfield was an idyllic place, safe, friendly, and fun. And Chris and I had the freedom to roam, climb, hike, and bike to our heart's content. We usually did this on day-long events, carrying our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with us in brown lunch bags and accompanied by my dog. Our only instructions were to be home by dinner time. Chris and I loved everything about the natural world, and we brought home all manner of treasures, filling my back porch with all things fossils, rocks, and critters. Chris had a big imagination, and together we created in our minds our own horse ranch, acting out a variety of adventurous scenarios. We had a wilderness where we could go and explore and roam to our heart's content. And we climbed trees, a lot of trees. Our favorite was an old apple tree with such an easy access that even my dog could get in it. Looking back on those days, I can now see they were the perfect activities for my introverted friend. Cristie and I shared a love of Girl Scouting. Through Scouting, we honed our outdoor skills, learned canoeing and being on the water, and made friends from all over the county. Through Scouting, we met Girl Guides from Toronto, and we were invited by them to come and visit them up in Toronto, and then we in turn invited them to come to Mayville and visit us. Summers in Girl Scouting meant residence camp at Woody Low High in Cassadaga. In the school year, it was troop camping at Newata on Chautauqua Lake. We loved it all. In fact, Scouting was such a huge part of our lives that when we were faced with the reality that we would not have a troop our senior year, we became leaders of a junior troop. When we outgrew being campers, we became camp counselors at the new Girl Scout camp in Timbercrest in Randolph. One summer after camp was over, a group of us counselors borrowed canoes from the council, and we drove to Algonquin Park up in Ontario for a canoe trip. We spent a week marveling at the most beautiful scenery, crawling over and climbing around beaver dams and getting soaking wet. I recall it rained every day. One night, we were all huddled around the campfire trying to dry out our clothes while simultaneously cooking dinner. Chris was in charge of the hot chocolate when, lo and behold, she fished a sock out of the pot. Oh, the joys of camping. After college, we went our separate ways. You all know the rest of the story for Chris. Her love and loyalty to Chautauqua County kept her at home here. Her work ethic and insatiable curiosity held her in good stead as she pursued her journalism career. I retired a few years before Cristie, and thanks to the Chautauqua on a Budget program, managed to enjoy at least 1 week every summer at the Chautauqua Institution. Although Chris was not retired, she was still working. She would schedule a week's vacation so she could come and join us on the grounds, meeting up every morning with us at Bester Plaza, having coffee before we went to the amphitheater for the program. Friendship, was and still is a key component of her personality. These days, well, prior to the COVID pandemic, that is, we managed to get together several times a year, often with other friends that we graduated from Mayville with, and even our Girl Guide friend. When we are together, we are usually recalling and enjoying singing our favorite Girl Scout songs. I can't think of a kinder, more generous person I am blessed to call her friend. Congratulations, Cristie, a well-deserved honor.
Well, golly. On behalf of the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation and the John D. Hamilton Community Service Committee, I am pleased to present this year's award to Cristie Herbst.
Thank you. It's both humbling and astonishing to receive this sort of recognition from your community, and I thank you all for your kind words. And Susie, one of those trees that we climbed was our rocket ship, if you remember, and it took us to a lot of places, and look where we landed. The John D. Hamilton Award feels especially significant to me in large part because of who it's named for. John Hamilton was the epitome of the giant of community service in Chautauqua County. I didn't know him well. My strongest memory of encountering John, or a meeting I had with John, happened one summer day. I was in my office at the plant on 2nd Street in Jamestown, and a woman stepped in through the door and said, "Jenny wants to see you. She wants to talk to you." And of course, in those days, we all knew that Jenny was Jenny Vermestead. There was only one Jenny in town. Jenny and I had been colleagues at the Post-Journal. She was a reporter there, and I think everyone thought she owned and ran the paper. And I said to the woman, "Oh, I'd love to see Jenny. Show her in, bring her in." And she said, "No, she's out front in a car. I parked out front in a no parking zone." So, of course, it was Jenny, so I got up from my desk and went out front, and Jenny was sitting in a sedan and said, "Get in the back, get in the back seat, get in the car." Well, it was Jenny, so I did what she said. We drove down 2nd Street to Main, took a left on Main, took another left onto 3rd Street, and pulled up in front of the Hotel Jamestown building in a no parking spot, which is why I was there. Jenny needed me to help her get out of the car. Some of you may remember in her last years, she walked with a cane. So I did. I helped her out of the car, and she tucked her hand under my arm, which was a signal to me I was supposed to walk her somewhere. She directed me into the Hotel Jamestown building. We went up several floors. I don't remember. Got off the elevator and stepped through a door, opened a door and stepped through the door, and there was John Hamilton, took one look at us and had a stricken look on his face. He was having a board meeting, it was the Gebby Foundation board meeting, and in walked the editor of the local newspaper. Well, John figured it out pretty quickly what had happened, because Jenny turned to me and said, "You can go back to your office now." The other part of this award that is so special to me is that it comes from the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation. I was there at the beginning as a reporter, recording the deliberations of a group of people who were so visionary. I do remember in particular meeting in Kenny Strickler's living room. I remember that Betty Lene was there, and Betty Erickson. I think Miles Lasser was there. Maybe, well, I'm not sure who else, but I have realized years later that the folks who founded the foundation were truly visionary. I understood how a community foundation worked. I understood what they were trying to do. But I am sure that they had the vision that one day the community foundation would grow from that $300,000 seed money that came from Gabby Foundation to what it is today, a foundation with an endowment of $112 million. It's remarkable. It's a remarkable story. Since I learned that I was this year's choice for this honor, I've been thinking a lot about community service and volunteering, and realizing that throughout all of our communities in Chautauqua County, or wherever you live, if you've joined us by Zoom, the very fabric and foundations of our communities are volunteers, people who are performing community service. Our churches, it's run by a board of directors of volunteers, whatever they're called. Our school boards, they are elected, but they also are volunteers. Our libraries, volunteer board of directors. Our youth sports, our youth programs. Hospitals. Our hospitals are run by a volunteer board of directors. Our fire departments. Imagine what your communities would be like without your local fire department. They're all volunteers. The people who volunteer at all levels of these community organizations are thoughtful and wise and well-meaning. I will tell you, though, that it's a lot more fun being a Girl Scout leader than it is being a director of a regional hospital. That's not to say we don't have fun. We do. It's an enjoyable, I enjoy being on the board of UPMC Chautauqua, but it's not as fun as being a Girl Scout leader. Phrases that we use come to be cliches because they so aptly describe what it is we're feeling, and people use them all the time. That's why they become cliches. They are so apt. It's a cliche for me to say this, but I mean it absolutely, that I got so much more out of the organizations that I volunteered for than I feel that I gave. And isn't that true? Isn't that true for all of us? Isn't that why we do it? And I didn't do any of it alone. I have through much of my volunteer work that I've done, I've made friends that have been lifelong friends and that I'm friends with still. Maybe there's one or two that I'm not anymore. But in any case, I do thank you all. It is such an honor. I have had such a great time working with all of you who have been on boards with me, and that's all. Thank you.
We certainly thank you, Cristie, for sharing with us. And I have to tell you, she wrote down a few notes, but most of that came right straight from the heart and the head, and I'm in awe of that. In addition to the award itself, which you'll see here sitting on the table, we've taken great care to sit a distance apart and not pass things between us. Cristie will take that beautiful award home tonight. She also has received a number of proclamations from our elected officials, including Mayor Sundquist, County Executive Wendell, Assemblyman Goodell, and Senator Borrello. I want to take just a moment, isn't that a beautiful display? Wanted to take just a moment to thank the people who participated in the interviews for the video tonight. They certainly went above their comfort zone in having those thoughts and remembrances recorded for posterity, but it makes a beautiful, something beautiful to take away from this evening. I'd also like to thank our staff at the Community Foundation who have done an incredible job trying to put together a very meaningful program tonight, something that ran smoothly and would feel just as special as all of those past celebrations we've hosted in person. And we certainly could not be doing this if not for the Robert H. Jackson Center and its facility in which we're located right now. And of course, the talent and expertise of one Ed Tomasini, who is behind the tech on all of this. This year marks the final Hamilton Award that Bridget Johnson will preside over as the chair of our committee. She has been the fearless leader for 6 years and a member of the committee going back to nearly the beginning.
Nearly the beginning, yeah.
Bridget, it has been an honor to have learned and watched how you do this process. I'm thankful to you for sticking with me as I grew into my role, and we wish you all the best in what comes next. And in the future, you'll get to attend and not have to give any remarks.
Yay!
And finally, a personal story about the type of leader and community servant that Cristie Herbst is to me. I think we heard from all those folks in the video about the type of person Cristie was, and then she demonstrated that by talking about the importance of volunteer service and highlighting the service of everyone except herself. So we've seen that. I had my own experience with Cristie as a leader and a role model and a mentor. A few years ago, I was a new leader at the local United Way, and Cristie was the editor of the local newspaper, and she invited me to her office at the Post-Journal. And it was there that she described to me how the newspaper was a longtime partner and the ways in which she might assist our fundraising campaign if ever a need arose. Well, later that season, a need arose, and I called on her, and she did exactly what she'd promised, and it ensured our collective success. I don't know if you remember doing that, but you did it. She could have filled her day that day with much more pressing business and more important things, but she made time, and she made a commitment, and she invested in the new kid on the block. And she did it very subtly, behind the scenes, unknown to others, and barely even remembered. That is the kind of community servant that Cristie has always been, and more importantly, continues to be in our region. We are deeply grateful for her talent, her commitment, and her quiet way of navigating even the most difficult of situations. Please join me as we raise our glass to the 2020 John D. Hamilton Community Service Award recipient. Cheers to Cristie. Cheers to all of you, and may you have a blessed evening.